Hey guys, the video you're about to see is one I made from repairs I had to make to the calendar part of the calendar clock after I tried to turn the month backwards. When you release the mechanism with the two releases, you can spin the date forward or backwards, but you can't spin it back to the month before. So it messed everything up, so I had to spend a while getting the calendar adjusted again. So I made a little video. I hope y'all enjoy it. Thanks. When I had set it up initially, it was toward the end of the month. So my hands, get this adjusted a little bit better. My calendar hand was over here. And I let it run for a week and it did well. When I finished cleaning it and putting it back together, it was the beginning of the month, so I set the date over here and it started giving me trouble. And it seemed to be kind of jumping ahead a day. And what I discovered was that this hand is loose for the first half of the calendar. So when I had set it for the 5th, it was really on the 6th because I didn't know that I had to push down on it. So it looks like it's on the 31st, right? You click it, okay, now it looks like it's 1st, but it's really the 2nd. And on and on. And then when you get down here, it looks like it skips from the 15th to the 17th because at the middle of the month, for whatever's pushing this around works properly on this half and keeps it where it's supposed to. So I'm going to investigate that. And I've also just been, here we go, watch if I don't touch it. 15th, it does good. 16th, it starts doing what it's supposed to. It's still just as loose. It's just that whatever's behind this, pushing it up this side, is holding it tighter than it is on the other side. This is holding my little door open here, my little flexible light. And I'm also having some trouble on some of the days of the month as far as what it's doing at the end. So I've just been clicking around to find out. I had the paper off a month, so the only way to find that out is to click around every month and see what it does at the end of the month. And what I found was if I put a little bit of pressure, just like I did here, a little bit of pressure to hold it on the actual day, it clicks over better and shows me what it's skipping from. So right now I'm just kind of learning how this mechanism works. And then I'm going to take this face off and see if I can tighten up anything behind there to make the first half of the month work better. So we're on February. It went to 29 days. And it skipped 2 days. It should have gone from the 28th to the 31st or the 29th to the 1st. It skipped 2 days on February. 29 to 31. So I've got to look at my February wheel because it's not working right. See how much it backs up? So it's close to working right, but it's not quite right. So I'm just going to click through this a few more times, all the way through all the months before I take this face off so I can learn about how it likes to move. See, if I don't put my finger on it, you think it's the 12th. And then when it gets down here, it skips days. It's not. It's really that it's just showing you the day before. So, because I had set it was May the 5th June the 5th when I finished working on it. And then I looked later in the day and it was pointing at the 7th, 6th, like it was off. So to back it up, it would change my day of the week, and I had the leap year set, so I was really frustrated. I was trying to move it backwards, and so now I don't know where the leap year is, what year I'm on. I didn't want to move it all the way forward to the next one. it says you can, when you have this pushed up and the little baling wire that's on the left here, you can't see it till I take the face off, but there's a little wire that comes out with a nut on the bottom of it, and then the weight that hangs down right here that I'm pushing on. So if you push the weight up and you push the baling wire up, it releases the mechanism and you can turn the hands to wherever you want. It's supposed to be able to free spin. But when you're going from month to month and the February wheel hits, that's what messed up my months, and I had to reset the paper and everything else. So I would not go backwards. I would just go forwards however many times that you need to go. And this clock, I don't know if they're all this way, but when you're done, when you release this and this, it advances to the next day, of course, because you have tripped it. But you have to kind of tug down on this baling wire and make sure that the left-hand side of that little bracket in there is set in a tooth, because mine likes to kind of stay up in the air and keep it from being able to engage. So what I found is when I'm done pushing both these up and setting it, and I let this go, I have to just reach down and give that a little tug and make sure it's seated well. I'm just trying to pass on what little things I'm learning about this thing. If I don't put any pressure at the end of the month, October has 31 days, so it looks like it doesn't advance to the next day, because the problem starts right there on the 1st. So what I've been doing at the end of the month is just putting a little bit of pressure so I can actually see how many days it's clicking forward. I want to show you something that I learned as a kid. I don't know how many of y'all know this. I'm old, so we learned odd things when we were kids, but you could count the days, which days had 31 days in them and which days had less by your knuckles, starting closest to your thumb. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. Anything on a big knuckle had 31 days. Down in the grooves had February or 30 days for the other months. And what's funny is it works. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, and August both have 31 days. So I was thinking that the calendar was off for May. I'm like, May has 30 days. And then I did my knuckle thing, and I'm like, oh, wait, May has 31 days. So there's something I can pass on. Let's see what February does. 2 days, 28th to 30th. And then 2 more days. Okay. So for the most part, it should skip, for 3 times out of 4, it should skip 1, 2, 3, 4 days. It skipped 4 days, but it took 2 lifts to do it. It only did 2 days at a time. It's only done 2 days on the leap years too. When it was on the 29th, last time it came around, it went to the 31st. So the February tab that's got the 2 pieces, the little piece must still be behind it a little bit. So I've got to make sure it's wide all the way to make it carry over 1, 2, 3, 4 days. And I could do this by this. Hold this up, push up the baling wire, click around. May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January. Now when I let go, watch what happens. It should advance to the next day and date. And then I pulled a little baling wire down. But see, it jumped 2. I was on the 26th. Anyway, that's what's been frustrating, is when I set it and I get the day right here, the date's not right. And I'm still trying to back it up and make it mesh. So it's more accurate if you click through to get to the day that you need. I would stop several days back from where the actual day was and click forward. because when you lift the whole thing and you drop the mechanism again and let it engage, it sometimes takes a couple of days to get it to, a couple of notches on the teeth to get it to activate properly. So it's actually 6, 8, 9, 10, nope, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. See, it looks like it skips in there if I don't have weight on that hand. Alright, let's see what it does for the end of the month. Once I take this face off, it's really hard to tell, so I'm clicking through it multiple times so that I've got a reference in my mind when I take this face off. 2 days, 2 days, same. Okay, so we're not in leap year, so I'm going to go around till we're in a leap year. This one should be leap year, because for 3 times now it's done the 20th to the 30th and the 30th to the 1st. So let's see what it's going to do. There's 29. We're on leap year. It does 2 days. Alright. I haven't taken the face off yet. All I did was take the pin and the washer off of this, and I was checking to see how much play I had. This little bracket that holds the hand is snug, and as I bring the hand forward, it's snug. It's working like it should if it's toward the front of the clock. So I think I just need more washers behind this. Instead of on the top of it, I'll put the washer behind it and hold the hand more toward the front, and I get more accurate hand movement. The play is minimal right here, but back there, it's a good bit. No play at the tip. All the way back, it goes back a whole day. So, I've tried putting 2 washers on it, and that's why my little pin is bent, because I needed just 1/10 of a millimeter to have a washer in the front and a washer in the back, and I bent it trying to hook it forward. There was no way. I could only get 1 washer on there, which I thought was too loose, and so I bent the washer a little bit to give it some bow to bring it a little bit more. But if I put that bow behind it, it's going to hold it more out to the front. The problem is the hole is covered up. It's got to go at least to right there for the hole. I do believe the hole is there. If I bring it there, yeah, so that's as far forward as I'm going to be able to bring it because of where the hole is. So I've got to figure out what I can do to the shaft that this goes on to make it a little bit tighter in the back. Look how much wobble I got. How much play. It's not a square or round shaft. It's a kind of a rectangle that this slides onto. So I've brought my February tab around to the front so I can look at it closely. And if you zoom in, you get above it, you see how the front part of the tab is bent backwards. So it's not letting this tab is the movable part. Whoop, I'm not on it. This tab is the movable part. I'm so zoomed in it's hard to stay where I am. Okay, let's get right here. Okay, so here's the back part of the February tab. But the front part has gotten bent backwards with me turning the movement backwards. It hung up on February and bent it backwards. So I'm going to straighten the front part of that tab. See how there's two tabs there? One there and one here. This is the part that moves behind for a leap year to make it skip 3 days instead of 4. So this back piece is still moving because it did 2 days and 2 days most of the time. To skip the 4 days, it just couldn't block all 4 days at one time with that bent backwards. But if you check all of your teeth, these teeth are what make it skip from 30 to 1. This is a 2-day skipping tooth. That one back there is a 2-day, but look, it looks bent backwards also. So I'm going to just make sure all these little teeth are straight up and down so that when this little funky shaped piece comes around under here, when this eye-shaped piece comes, the foot of it comes around and hits one of these teeth, it pushes this arm up. I'm going to see if I can find the little foot and do it. Sorry about the bad camera. Okay, I'm on the little foot. Let's see what the top part does. Alright, that's the foot. It lifts which way? Right there. Okay, I see what it does now. So this part is riveted. There's the rivet. There's the spring that holds it down normally. So that, did you see that? So when I pushed up on the foot, this whole part came upward and blocked some teeth. So this eye-shaped part is what moves. Riveted here. Spring pushes it back down after the tab goes by, the foot goes by. I'll try it one more time. Okay, I'm on the foot. I'm going to push that. See how it lifts? So that's the whole mechanism of the extra days, is how high the foot lifts, how wide this is, your teeth. Alright, so anyway, I'm going to straighten the one that I bent. I'm going to straighten the one that I didn't bend, that's bent a little bit. And I'm going to check the other one that's on the back side. I'm going to go all the way around and then put it back together. Lift the weight, lift the little baling wire, that lifts this little arm, deactivates it from the teeth right here, and lets you free spin. So I'm going to go to when it clicks to February and see what it does. Alright, there's February. So I'm going to let this back down and this back down. That seemed to work better. You push the weight up, then you push this up, and it seemed to work better to let this down and then the weight down, and it didn't jump forward, because I've been having problems with getting it set and then it jumps forward. So if you release it in the right order, it seems to work better. Alright, let's see. That. We won't know if that's tight enough, what I've done to it, until I put the face back on. I put a smaller wire through the hole. I put 2 washers behind it because I've had to put the smaller wire, because with 2 washers, the other one, it covers part of the hole and with that hand, and I can't get the the pin that was in it won't fit in there anymore. So I put that wire, but I think I've still got too much play. I'm going to have to figure out something. This apparently is graduated. It's smaller at the back. So when you, at the front, it's very snug to put it on, but as you slide it back, is where you get that looseness. So I'm going to have to probably put something on the rod itself. A little makeshift wire doesn't want to stay in. So I have no idea what it did with no face on it. I can't tell how many days it jumped, but it looked like it went to 31 days. And now we're at March. So I'm going to have to play with it till I get the 2 February tabs moving like they're supposed to. I set this up to show you how this foot works down inside. The eye-shaped piece up here, the foot works down at the side as it interacts with the side tabs here. So I wanted to show you as I go through it how it's working on these little tabs. So the foot's up at the top, it's coming around on the right. If it doesn't interact, it just does all 30 days. If it does interact, like right there, it makes it skip. It pushes that eye-shaped piece up and covers the teeth and makes it skip. So 31 days, and this should interact with a tooth. Interacted with the tooth. No tooth. There's a big tall tooth sticking up. It made it skip because it was on November and it went to December. No interaction for December or January. Now here's my February tooth coming up, and I have to see if I made it wide enough that it's touching it. So it's touching the first part of the tab. Two parts of the tab here, the slidey part and the front part. So when I first adjusted it, it was only touching the slidey part. I bent the front part back a little bit more to see if it would slide along it the entire time. It's pushing it up, it's pushing it up. So that seems to be adjusted about right. So I'm going to put the face on and see how it moves around now. I worked on my hand a little bit. When I had it off, I could tell one side was straight, one side was rounded out a little bit. So I've tapped it with my brass hammer to try to push the worn brass back into the hole and straighten it up a little bit. So I'm going to see if that, that would definitely explain it. If this side was rounded out, it would give it a lot of wobble, and then as it got around to this side, which is flat, it would hold it tight against the mechanism. So it is definitely tight right at the tip of this, but looser toward the back. It's got more play, so I don't know if that's going to have done it with me trying to push a little brass in. One side seems straighter than the other. I'm going to put the straightest part toward, I had that part toward the back before. I may flip it over and see if it makes any difference. It may work better. Anyway, let me put it all back together and we'll see what we got. I'll let the wire down, then the weight, and it just advances one day that way. If you let them both down at the same time, the wire on mine doesn't come down good, and then it'll skip several days sometimes. Two days. Doesn't look like we made any improvement at all. Two days at a time. It needs to do 4 days and 3 days. So I know that the two levers are working properly. One is sliding behind the other, making it narrow. It's coming back out and making it wider. So the problem's got to be the distance of the foot to those levers and how high it's lifting the other end of the piece. So I got to make sure the foot's contacting it well. Let's see what it does a couple more times. Days, 2 days. Alright, so it's done it 3 times. This should be leap year. Unless I've lost count, which is very possible. Leap year, 29th. 2 days. Yes, so when it's at the narrowest, and it should be 3 days instead of 4, it's still doing 2 days. So it's doing 2 days and 2 days because of the 2 levers. Each lever is acting independently like a day. So I've got to make sure that foot is contacting them continuously, that they're together at the top continuously for the whole 4-day cycle that it should be. That's what the problem is. Okay. Let me take it apart again. I'm going to bring the February back around. It's at the bottom right now. And if you can see, it was completely behind the other one, but now it's starting, like when it was right here, I could see the 2 tabs were completely behind each other, but as it's come to right here, it's the back one is starting to stick out. So and now it's out a lot. It's side by side now. So leap year stays leap year for about 6 months, and then that tab pops back in place. Alright, so it's wide and it should be doing 4 days. Okay, it has just clicked to the back. So when it comes around this time, I need to try to watch what this arm does here. This is the eye-shaped piece that foot pushes up in the air. It's supposed to just be on the back side, but you notice it's not, because I've got this pushed up in the air. That's why. Okay, well, I'm already there now, so I'm just going to go ahead. It's going across one. And I saw what happened, I feel like. When it interacted with the tooth that was behind, let me get my 2 hands here. So here's my 2 teeth, and the one goes behind the other one. So it's behind it for leap year, and then it slowly came back out, like so, behind there. But when the foot interacted with the 2 teeth all the way wide, when it interacted with this one that slides, it just kind of pushed it back out of the way. It didn't really ride across the top of it and lift it like it was supposed to. These 2 are going to have to stay tighter together. I don't have them. I've got to check on that one that slides and make sure it's pushed forward enough that it's tight up against the back side of this one. So I'm going to bring it around to the front and do that. Pin just fell out. Okay, it's at the front right here. I can see there's a gap right there. What I did was kind of push that one back to close the gap, but in watching how it works, this is the one that needs to be moved. So, let's see what I can do. It's on a spring. I can move it forward or backwards. So I'm going to push it down. It's hard to catch it. I pushed it down away from the other tooth. And I'm going to just kind of pull it forward some. Okay, still got a gap. I want them to be tighter together. I hope you can see these right here. So I'm pushing this one that's slides down away from the fixed one. This one is fixed just like these other tall points. It doesn't go anywhere. This little piece does. So I've pushed it down away from it, and I'm going to just try to bend it forward a little bit. That's closer. I'm going to bend the the permanent one a little bit. It seems to be angled. That looks pretty flush right there. I have to tell you what I did to get the hands tight. For one thing, I straightened this. It was a little bit bent. But I took a flat washer and I used a staking tool and I picked a rounded one. Put my flat washer on there. Put that rounding staking tool on there and whacked it a couple times, rounded it out, and that is just enough bow to be like a washer and a half. So the hand is not bouncing around loose anymore, and now it's pointing straight at the numbers, so I'm happy with that part. I believe I have them butting up together good. They're hard to see with the hand on, but I've checked it with my magnifying glass and I think they're pretty flush without putting too much pressure. And then now my foot is coming around where I can look at it and make sure that it's not bent backwards, that it's nice and flush. It comes out and over. It comes out from the back and over a short tab. So if that tab is bent back toward the back, it's going to slip off too soon. So I'm just going to make sure that my foot is flat. I believe it's pretty flat, pretty square. Might be torqued a little bit. Alright, let us try that. See how the foot interacts with the tabs. You probably can't see it because it's happening back in here, but I'm just going to click around and see. That one did not interact with a long tooth. I'm coming around. September is a 30-day month. The foot's coming back around. That's 30, and it's the tooth is the foot is sitting right on the tooth. So when I push it this next time, the foot should push that tooth. It's gonna raise. Let me get my pointer. It's going to raise this piece right here that's attached to the front of this wheel. It's going to push this arm up so that it doesn't catch the next tooth, lets it skip a day. So I'm going to try to go real slow so you can see it. So the foot's pushing down on the long tooth. This eye-shaped piece is lifting up. It's lifting this arm. Normally this little half of this arm goes in each little tooth as it clicks around. The foot's coming around. Alright, it's touching. It's raising. And it should let it keep on pushing this on around. for several days, but it's just kind of sitting there. It has pushed the one tab back and it's sitting on the other one. What if I push the tab forward? There, did you see the whole cylinder kind of slide that way? It's still just doing 2 teeth and then the other 2. Okay, I'll keep working on it. I've been working on it for quite a while. I have decided the feet did not need to be bent straight. They needed to be angled a little bit away, and the foot that interacts with them needs to be angled a little bit away so that when they hit, they don't hang up. They deflect off of each other and go past each other. So that's not the way to adjust it. What I've discovered is the way to adjust it is my linkage right here. The reason it was stopping and only going 2 days at a time was because it wasn't being allowed to drop down far enough. I had put it back where it was between my 2 little Sharpie marks. When I had taken it apart to clean it, I'd put the Sharpie on there. But no matter what I did, it would only do 2 days and 2 days. So I loosened this screw, pulled this up some, which lets this whole mechanism drop down farther. So now this little flexible arm, it's very flexible. It'll go wherever. It's pretty flexible. So if there's not something stopping it, it's going to go as far as it needs to. But if it's not dropping down far enough, it can't go out far enough to get 4 days. So I have, by lowering that mechanism, it only needs to go to right there. You can hear it click. Is the tooth coming off of here, and then a click over here is the cam coming out of the wheel to change the day. And when you let go, it changes. So it doesn't need to lift super high. So it'll be lifting it less high. It'll be less workload on the clock now. But anyway, it was hard for me to tell how far it was moving, so I made a little cheat sheet to put on here with my angles so I could tell what it was doing, because you can't tell when you're looking at it how far it's jumping without some numbers and lines to go by. Well, numbers at least on the calendar, but I put some lines on here so I'd have some idea of what day I was on. So we're on the 27th, it looks like. It's just barely touching the 2-part February lever. And it must have been on the 28th, and it went to, looks like the 31st is straight up. So it went to the, no, I don't have this on here all the way. It went to the 31st. 28, 29, 30, 31. So I've got it going 3 days now. It still needs to go 1 more day most of the time. So I'll keep working on it. I lowered this all the way. It's flush now. It did have about, it's probably 2 millimeters of wire left at the bottom. Now it's totally flush at the bottom. And this little washer that's around this screw is now matching up with the wear lines that are on the mechanism that lifts up and down. So I'm hopeful that it's adjusted in the right spot now. We're going to see. That should be about the 26th, 27, 28. It should go to the 1st. It's not a leap year. On the on the levers where they are right now, they're not behind each other, so it should do 4 days. And we're still just got 3 days. Okay. So the only way to make it go 4 spaces is I loosened this screw while it was still on about 3.5 spaces and lowered the mechanism until the 4th thing clicked. Alright, 27, 28, March 1st, and it's in a tooth, so I like that. And my dot is right there. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I like it. Let me look at what the levers are doing. Yes, the 2 levers passed the foot completely. It had been, the foot had been getting stuck on the levers, counting the levers as 2 and 2, and then getting stuck on them. So I pushed them back just a little bit. They were kind of bent away. They were kind of bent this way, so I had straightened them up, and then there was too much pressure and the foot wouldn't pass, so I bent them back, and then it wouldn't do enough days, so I bent it back just a little bit so that the foot rode on it for a little bit longer and kept the back end of this eye pushed out a little bit longer. So between letting this be more flexible and adjusting these feet and these levers and that foot, it looks like I finally got it correct. So I'm going to go around 2 more years and come back to leap year and set the calendar. Hopefully it's still going to work. My hand is moving very nicely. You need your hand to be snug. It was not snug before. It would wobble back and forth. It needs to be tight to the wheel, to the oh, I'm tired, I can't think. What you mount your wheel on, it needs to be tight to it. It doesn't need to rock back and forth. You don't need to put the washer on the front, you need to put it on the back so that you bring it forward and bring it further away from the paper so it's not rubbing around the edges. And if your hand is straight, it should point right to the middle of the numbers. Okay, this is not a leap year. It should go from the 28th to the 1st. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Nope, it's a leap year. And there it is. Alright. That's exciting. So, if you're having problems with 1 month skipping the number of days it needs to, I would look at the levers on the month cylinder. And if you're having problems with all of them, I would look at how far your weight is dropping and the foot that is rubbing on those levers. Angle it a little bit in or out to contact it longer or not as long, to make it work like it should for all the months.